The only way that the devil knows that he has our attention is when we respond to the distractions that he has sent. God says to resist the devil and he will flee. This morning, while in prayer, God began to speak to me about something that he had told me a while back. And it brought back to my memory something very important. God says, why do we give so much focus to the negative things in our lives? Wherever our focus goes, that's where we find ourselves. If we're always focused on the negative aspects of everything that takes place in our life, but we give no focus to the good things that God is doing, the blessings that we're receiving, no matter how small they are, then we're giving our focus to the enemy. And the minute that the enemy knows that he has our attention, he goes rampant. He amps up the fire because now he knows that we see him. God says, why is it that when God does something nice for us, immediately the enemy is going to show up? Because of course that's his job. He's doing his job. That is his job. That is his purpose. That is what he does. He comes to seek out whom he may devour, so he can steal, kill, and destroy anything that is good in our lives. Anything that causes us to be at peace, anything that causes us to be happy, anything that causes our heart to feel joy, anything that puts a smile on our face, the enemy comes to steal it, to kill it, and to destroy it. So why do we keep allowing the enemy time and time and time again to do those things that God, and to succeed in them, even though God has already warned us about it? God says to resist the devil and he will flee. One of the things that helps me in life, and I pray that sharing this, it helps someone else, because I've told it to the people that were connected and that are connected to me, is I look at everything as a test. And because I look at everything as a test, any situation that I find myself in, when I'm looking at it as a test, it causes me to stop and to ask a question, to ask myself, what would God do in this situation? How would God respond in this situation? And when we begin to ask ourselves that, that is us including God in every area of our life. And when we ask that question, God answers. And when God answers, then therefore when we heed and we listen and follow through on the instructions that he has given us, or the advice that he has given us, because we have free will, it's a choice that we make to listen. But when we do, then God is ordering our footsteps. The word says that the footsteps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord. So when we start giving more focus and keeping our eyes on God and the good things in our life, not saying that bad things don't happen, things don't go wrong, but if we trust the fact that God truly takes everything that the enemy meant for bad and turns it around for our good, we start looking for the good. We start looking for God in it. We start asking God where he's at. How would he like us to respond? How would he like us to move? And then we start moving in it. And then God is leading our footsteps. And when God begins to lead our footsteps, nothing but good can come to us, because now our focus is on God. Our focus is on good. If God does something, for an example, in our lives, if God places, because God used people, just like the devil used people, God uses people to fulfill his purpose in the earth. So if God lays it on someone's heart to bless us, to give us something, to do something for us, to give us an encouraging word, guess what? If God put it on their heart to do so, then it's a gift from God. But he used them to get it through to us. Why do we give focus to the negative aspects of that blessing. Because guess what? The devil is going to show up as sure as God shows up. So, oh, God's going to bless you. Let me see what I can do to take your focus off the fact that you're being blessed and make you look at the negative. Someone blesses us with something. Why is it that when we give credence or we give reference to it or we share it, do we have to say, oh, it was good, but this, and this happened? Then the conversation is no longer about the fact that you were blessed, but now it's about the fact of everything that went wrong. So did we show God a heart of gratitude? Did we give God grace? Did we give God the mercy that he shows to us? Did we give him a thankful heart? Did we show up and say, oh my God, God blessed me and he did this. He laid it on somebody's heart to do this for me? No, because we're too busy focused on everything that went wrong. Again, not understanding fully and looking deeper than the surface that it was the enemy that was trying to distract us. And now because we've spoke on it, guess what? He knows that he has our attention. So now that he knows he has our attention, guess what? He's going to go crazy. He's going to amp it up. He's going to make sure that now that I know you see me, oh, I'm going to perform. So now God doesn't get a heart of gratitude fully for the blessing that he sent. When God does something for us, God said that all good things come from the Lord. God says that he reigns on the just as well as the unjust. And anything that good that comes about in our life, regardless of how it came about, God had to allow it. The devil couldn't fool with Job until God allowed it. He had to have permission from God to be able to touch Job. And even in being able to do so, there were still certain stipulations that he could not violate because God had spoke. God says this morning, let's stop focusing on all the negative things and giving credence to the negativity and the distractions that the enemy send to keep us down and to keep us bound. And instead start looking and keeping our eyes on God. The reason Peter began to sink when Jesus called him on the water is because he began to take his eyes off of Jesus. God says this morning, let's move with a heart of gratitude and keep our eyes on God. And let's stop paying attention to all the negative distractions that the enemy sends to gain our focus. Some of us need to check ourselves this morning. Truly dig deep to look. How are we responding to the things that are going on in our lives? God sends a blessing. Instead of looking at the fact that it was a blessing, instead of looking at the fact that we didn't have to pay for it, instead of looking at the fact that God put it on somebody's heart and they were obedient concerning us. How about we look at that? How about we look at the fact that we didn't have to pay for it? How do we look at the fact that they didn't have to encourage us? How did they look at the fact that they didn't have to do what they did for us? So we're going to focus on the fact of that and show more appreciation and more gratitude rather than saying, oh, it was good, but this, and this happened. And I was like, oh my God. Let's not get focused to the negative distractions that the enemy send when God has given us a blessing. Let's have a heart of gratitude that says, you know what, Lord God, I know that the enemy tried, but I thank you for what you did for me. I thank you for laying it on those people's heart to do that for me. Because guess what? Everybody is not obedient concerning us. Everybody does not care enough to be obedient concerning us. So when someone is obedient to God concerning us, then we should be grateful for it. Let's stop looking at the negative. Let's stop looking at the distractions that the enemy sends and the people that he's using to get his job done and his purpose fulfilled. And let's put our eyes on God, knowing that no matter what takes place, God uses those things to turn them around for our good. Be blessed. Have a good Sunday.